Welcome to the battlefield of the center game, where a single sharp move can decide victory or defeat. In this video, we reveal the deadliest opening traps for both white and black. Strategies that can shock your opponent and win games in just a few moves. Whether you're a beginner learning the basics or a chess lover searching for powerful surprise weapons, this is your ultimate guide to mastering the center game. The center game begins. We strike first with pawn to e4. Black responds with pawn to e5. Without hesitation, we advance pawn to d4, challenging the very heart of the board. Black chooses caution with pawn to d6. We continue with pawn to c3, quietly preparing our trap. Black develops bishop to d7, unaware of the storm ahead. Now our bishop flies to c4, piercing into enemy territory. Black brings knight to f6, attacking, but also stepping into danger. Then the queen emerges to b3, targeting weakness. Black defends with queen to e7, but it is too late. We capture with queen on b7, luring the opponent deeper. Black boldly plays bishop to c6, thinking we are overextended. But we retreat the queen to c8 with a deadly check. Black tries to cover with queen to d8, and now the hammer falls. Bishop crashes into f7 with check. Black is forced to move king to e7. One final strike, queen to e6. Checkmate. The game ends in just 9 moves, trapped by the deadly power of the center game. The battle begins with pawn to e4. Black answers with pawn to e5. We strike immediately with pawn to d4, and black accepts with capturing in the center. Now comes pawn to c3, a quiet preparation, but black grows greedy, capturing on c3. We bring out the knight, leaping to c3, reclaiming the board. Black develops knight to f6, threatening. Our bishop slides to c4, pointing straight at the king's fortress. Black responds with queen to e7, defending but already walking into danger. We calmly place bishop to f4, adding pressure. Black grows greedy, capturing our knight on e4. But here comes the thunder. Our knight storms forward to d5, striking the queen. Forced, black retreats queen back to d8, and now the trap is sprung. Our knight crashes into c7 with a deadly fork, attacking both king and rook. Black has no choice but to move king to e7, and then the queen invades to d5. The king is trapped. The defense collapses. This is the ruthless power of the center game, where one mistake means instant defeat. We have pawn to e4, pawn to e5, pawn to d4, and black captures. Calmly, we play pawn to c3, but black grows greedy, capturing again. Now our bishop leaps to c4, aiming at the enemy's heart. Black cannot resist, capturing yet another pawn. We recapture swiftly with bishop to b2, building pressure. Black lashes out with queen to g5, searching for danger. We ignore the threat and develop knight to f3. The queen pounces, capturing on g2, thinking victory is near. But the trap is already set. Our bishop slices into f7 with check. Black is forced to capture with the king. Now the rook swings across to g1, pinning the queen's escape. Black retreats to h3. But then the knight storms forward to g5, another deadly check. The king is exposed, the queen is trapped, and black's position collapses in chaos. This is the brutal beauty of the center game. We have pawn to e4, pawn to e5, pawn to d4, and black captures. Now pawn to c3, preparing a counter, but black pushes pawn to d5, trying to hold the center. We capture on d5, and the black queen steps forward to d5, claiming dominance. We calmly develop knight to f3. Black responds with knight to c6, defending the queen. Our knight leaps to d4, offering a trade. Black accepts, knight captures knight, but we recapture with pawn to d4, seizing control of the center. Black develops knight to f6, striking back. We bring in another knight to c3, adding more firepower. Black places bishop to b4, pinning our knight. And now, the queen rises to a4 with a deadly check and fork attack on the bishop at b4. Black's position is already cracking. The pin backfires and the attack begins. This is how the center game turns one careless move into total disaster. Now let's check out some stunning traps in the center game when we play black. The game begins with pawn to e4. We answer with pawn to e5. White strikes with pawn to d4. We capture immediately. Then their bishop comes to c4, and we develop knight to f6, adding pressure. White pushes forward with pawn to e5, but we counter with pawn to d5, challenging the center. Their bishop retreats to b3. We jump knight to e4, planting it deep in enemy territory. White brings knight to e2, but we calmly develop bishop to c5, aiming directly at the king. They push pawn to f3, chasing our knight, but we strike with queen to h4, checking. Forced, white pushes pawn to g3. Now comes the deadly blow. Pawn drives to d3. White greedily captures with pawn to h4, and suddenly bishop lands on f2 with check. The king stumbles to f1, and then the final dagger. Bishop slides to h3. Checkmate. In just 10 moves, the center game collapses, and victory belongs to black. We have pawn to e4, pawn to e5. White dares with pawn to d4. We capture without hesitation. Their queen rushes out to d4, but we strike back, knight to c6, attacking. The queen retreats to e3, and we develop knight to f6, adding more pressure. White's bishop slides to c4, but our knight lunges to e5, pressing forward. The bishop retreats to b3, and we unleash bishop to b4 with check. Forced, white blocks with pawn to c3, but we retreat bishop to c5, keeping our eyes on the king. White grows greedy, bringing the queen to g3. But here lies the trap. Our bishop crashes into f2 with check. White is lured into capturing with the king. And now comes the dagger. Knight leaps to e4 with check, ripping the position apart. The queen is trapped, the king is exposed, and the game is already lost. This is the ruthless power of the center game when we play black. If you enjoyed these powerful center game traps, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more deadly chess openings. Drop a super thanks or become a channel member to support the channel. Every move you make helps us bring you more high-impact chess content. Drop a comment below with your favorite trap or tell us which opening you want to see next. Thanks for watching. And remember, in chess, the right opening can change everything.